everyone. This is a Pokemon theory that I've developed in the past couple of minutes. But I think there's something to it that's leading to something greater. But that I'm not quite done with. I don't know what it's leading to, and that's what I'm trying to figure it out. So, I decided to make this video as a way to put it out there and see what people think, what it means, kind of, what it could lead to. So, anyways, I'm going to go over my theory about why the trees in Pokemon are more important than you think. What am I on about? You're probably asking that, and I don't blame you. It's kind of out of nowhere. Doesn't make sense from an outside point of view. But as I explain myself, you'll see that there's something more to this that we may be missing, that we may need to look further into. But before I get into that, I'm going to go on a small side tangent that will make sense later. I believe, with inspiration from this Tyranitar Tube video from a while back that explained why the original dragon from the Tau trio, whatever the trio of legends in Unova is, that the original dragon from there will be a dragon and grass type. Now, this isn't the main focus of the video here, and it's not really meant to draw all my attention straight to this, but it just fit in kind of well, and I just wanted to bring it up. I'm gonna summarize it real quickly. If you don't want to hear my summary and instead want to watch his video, then you can skip to the timestamp on screen or the next chapter of the video, whatever I end up doing. But at the beginning of his video, he discusses that 2024 was the year of the dragon, much like 2012 when Black 2 and White 2 came out. More specifically, he said that 2024 was the year of the wood dragon. He also lists some possible types of the original dragon that most so far have theorized and many agree with, such as dragon normal or dragon fairy. Um, Before saying that the original dragon will instead be dragon grass type as the wood dragon. He then goes on to point out that it's not going to be like a weird amalgamation of all three being Reshiram, Zekrom, and Kiram. He doesn't say that it's going to be an amalgamation of all three, like what they represent individually, but instead it's going to be its own entity, like its own thing, separate from the whatever, but still connected in what it is, lore-wise. Um, just want to put that out there for now. I will get back to it at the end, but that's just something that can fit into my theory better with someone more experienced making theories such as this. So, anyways, back to my main focus. Trees in the 3D games have had a big impact. Not impact, not what I'm going for. But in almost every 3D game since the Gen 3 remakes, or Gen 3 in general, there has been some sort of large or important tree somewhere in the region. For example, we've got the tree here from the Gen 3 remakes that AZ planted on his quest to find Floette, which there is a flower here of the Floette flower here, eternal flower, Floette flower here, that he that's a reference, I think, most likely to who planted it and whatnot. In Legends Arceus, or Gen 4 before it was, yeah, um, the Cleavor boss battle being was fought at the base of a very large tree, which is something interesting to point out. Gen 5 hasn't had a 3D remake yet, and I'll get back to that, but that's why there isn't really a tree like that I could find. Um, Gen 6 doesn't really have its own tree either, but the Gen 3 remakes happened in like the Gen 6 cycle, and the ultimate weapon was modeled after AZ's Floette flower, which can be found at the tree, which is the closest I could connect it, but I haven't played any games before Galar, so if there is a tree such as what I should be looking for in like um black and white or Gen 6, do point it out to me and let me know. I would really like to know, but this is all I have so far for these two. In Sun and Moon or Gen 7, there's the Battle Tree, which is so far the biggest tree that we've seen. And while it isn't really big lore wise or anything, it is a really big tree. That's kind of all I've got. But there is a big tree here. It's basically just the battle tower, from what I could find. Basically just the battle tower, but a tree. But it is still a big, important tree. And going forward, the trees will be much more like big and important going forward and make much more sense for what my theory is portraying. So, in the Switch releases with the DLC, the large trees in question appear in the second DLC content area. In content that can only be found within the second DLC. The example from Sword and Shield, or Generation 8, is the two Dyna trees in the Crown Tundra. That being the living one here and the dead one on the other side of the Crown Tundra. Which are really big trees, much like the battle tree. But these have more of a connection to the region than the battle tree. And I'll get to that in a bit. In Scarlet and Violet, after the main content within the Indigo Disc area itself, Indigo Academy, you go into the Area Zero Underdepths, where you will find this Terra tree, which doesn't serve a big purpose like everyone thought it would in the original trailers. But I'll get to that in a bit as well. Now, you are probably thinking to yourself, wow, those are some cool trees, but why are they so important? Well, each tree has some sort of connection to things happening within the region. Um, 3,000 years ago, when AZ fired the ultimate weapon, which then created mega crystals. Mega crystals were stones, mega stones. AZ fired the ultimate weapon, which then created the mega stones. And Megastones are a very large thing in Kalos, Mega Evolution and whatnot. He also planted the tree in Hoenn, which was which is interesting because at the time we see the tree in game, Mega Mega Evolution and Megastones are a big thing in Hoenn as well. In Legends Arceus, the first of the five frenzied nobles that the player quells is fought at the base of the tree. The player later quells the remaining nobles throughout the story, likely remembering the large tree that sets up the impression of how nobles are fought in the arena. The tree is the main thing that separates it from all the other arenas, which are just circular areas where you fight the boss. In Galar's Crown Tundra, the two Dynatrees, um, the two Dynatrees are very big, as I have said previously. The player is somehow able to shake the living tree to gain a very notable amount of berries, as well as a possible encounter of a Dynamaxed Greedent that falls from the tree. There is no raid den here, like can be seen with these pillars of light that signify the raid dens. And normally, Dynamax Pokemon can only be found within raid dens or from players or NPCs in gym battles and similar areas. So, why would a Greedent in a tree with no sign of it being a raid den be able to be Dynamaxed? What I believe with this tree is that it absorbed, both of them actually, absorbed an excess amount of Galar particles, which are basically the little energy particle whatevers all around the region that cause Dynamaxing. They provide the power in order to do that. So, after these trees intake an excess amount of Galar particles in the ground where they were growing, not only do they themselves grow very large, the color of this tree for sure, and likely the dead one, changes as well to match the color of the Dynamax energy, as well as causing Pokemon that reside within them to Dynamax. The Terastal tree in the Area Zero Underdepths likely became this way in a similar fashion to the Dynatrees. An excess intake of terrestrial energy and like Terra shards and whatnot. It is covered, especially around the base of the tree and in the roots, with Terra crystals, much like the entire area of the Underdepths and Area Zero in general. And it's not the only thing affected by the Terra crystals in Area Zero. Another good example, which was only surfaced more recently, is Espathra, the ostrich Pokemon new to the region. Its signature move, Lumina Crash, has hexagonal patterns very prevalent within it. Similarly to Terra Crystals, found mainly in Area Zero, as well as Zygarde, but that's a theory for another day. Another Pokemon that is more so affected by the terrestrial energy is Glamora, a flower Pokemon that looks somewhat similar to the ultimate weapon, but again, theory for another day. Glamora is mainly found in Area Zero, with its face jammed into the walls, likely absorbing energy from Terra crystals, very similarly to how plants absorb nutrients from the soil or ground where they grow, which causes Glamora to most likely be more similar to how it is in its color scheme and face and whatnot, somewhat similarly to the Terra Tree. Now, I do have to say that the Battle Tree, again, just Battle Tower, but a tree, doesn't serve much lore purpose, as well as other than infinite late game battles. So, nothing really going on there. Just just its own thing. Now, there are two possible ways I can go about finishing this off in what I believe. There's like the viewing Pokemon as like a franchise POV and viewing it from the lore POV. As like a franchise, the way I see it is that after Legends ZA is released, we'll get we will get Unova remakes. Why won't that delete? And inside them, along with them, whatever, we will also get the original dragon will emerge as a dragon grass type wood dragon. Much like what was theorized in Tyranitartube's video from a while ago, but more orientated to what is currently happening from then. Is it outlandish? Yeah. Does it make sense? Mostly. Is it likely? No. If we do get Unova remakes after ZA, what will most likely happen is it'll be pure dragon. Won't have anything to do with wood dragon or whatever. Now, from a lore POV, point of view, whatever. From the lore point of view, this is where I am more confused. I don't really know where they connect. I don't know how to connect them more other than them being cool, somewhat important trees that should be important but don't actually serve much purpose or aren't actually important. All that I can say is that no matter what you may be viewing them as, another background asset, another use of the TM cut, there's more to them than we may think. More to explore, more to tell you, more to say to anyone willing to listen. And I'm going to be the one who's going to stop and listen to the trees. Whether they be deities or just Trevenant, I will listen to their story. Yeah, that was dumb. If I listen to the trees, I'll end up like this. That's all I've got to say. It's interesting, for sure. It's not a joke. I do mean this, and fully intend it. But what I'm just struggling to piece them together more. Only thing that I've really realized is that there are a bunch of trees that look more important than they are. That should be more important than they are. That's all that I've got. If anyone has any ideas as to why or how they could be more connected, more prevalent, please do let me know. And I will try to make a sequel going over your ideas and theories as to how this would work. But until then, theorize.